are 2 pigs. And these are the 3 pigs. Together, these 5 pigs' debt is calculated on almost $4 trillion. It is not only on Western Europe countries are fighting sovereign debt. It is all over the world. On the East, Ukraine, Latvia, Romania, Hungary, and of course the United States have the big of all debts. I should say that economists say that there is even a missing pig here, G, for Great Britain. Gerald Celente, the founder of the Trends Research Institute, states that this same year there will be a huge financial crash. So how come we reach this situation of globalized debt for, after all, aren't we living supposedly in a capitalist system? To answer this question, fellow Toastmasters and dear guests, we have to understand some of the basics of the financial system. Let us start with the central bank. Actually, these are semi-private institutions. You think they are public because their presidents are appointed by the governments. But that is where the public thing finishes, because from that moment on, the decisions from the central banks or the Federal Reserve in the United States are taken by the private banks who own them. Now, how a bill note comes into existence? If you think, like I used to, that bill notes are tied with the gold reserves of a country, forget about that. Bankers discovered a long time ago that if they were not restrained by the gold standard, they can loan much more money. So let us use the US as an example. They need $1 billion, so everything starts with the Treasury. They print beautiful bill notes called Treasury bills, also known as bonds, where the state promises to pay the Fed back the loan with interest rate paid by the taxpayers. And this is just the beginning of the scam. Later on, the Fed buys those Treasury bills, and then they create out of nothing money credits for the government, or eventually they will print the bill notes out of thin air. And here we have to ask this question. Why is it that the government is good enough to print the Treasury bills, but it is not good enough to print the money bills themselves or create the money credits? But the scam goes on. Let us see what happens to this $1 billion after they enter into circulation. Thanks to what is called a fractional reserve, a bank that receives an amount of money takes a 10% apart as a fractional reserve, and then they are entitled to loan up as 90% of this amount, created out of nothing. In a nutshell, this means that this $1 billion, after entering into circulation, they work as a 10% fractional reserve, and the bankers can loan $9 billion, created out of nothing and with interest rate. And nowadays there are some countries whose fractional reserve is even 0. But the scam goes on. The bankers then invented the derivatives. And derivatives are other way to scam the economy, to scam people. Derivatives are complex financial tools where they have a leverage of 20, 50, and 100 times more. So they can make money out of nothing. They can make money out of the misfortune of the pigs. They can make money out of the plunge of the stock. They can control the goods, the price of the goods and the price of the commodities. Let us face the truth. This is not capitalism anymore. As Max Kaiser puts it, this is a casino gulag. And know that the GDP of the planet is $61 trillion. These derivatives created a black hole of debt calculated by some in $1,000 trillion. Now I want you to take a look at this pyramid, which I took from Renaissance 2.0, videos from Demon Vrabel, which I urge you all to see. This is a depiction of the Anglo-American financial empire. But if you change the Fed here for whatever central bank, you will have the depiction of other financial empires. So we have at the top the owners, then the Fed or any central bank, then the big banks, the big corporations, the state, small businesses, and the people at the bottom. This financial empire has two main movements, a downward and an upward movement. The downward movement is one where the layers at the top exert power to the layers in below. That is why the government exerts power to the citizens, but the layers at the top exert power to the government. That is why this financial empire is mandatory. And the upward movement is one where the money from the people is sucked up to the layers above. It is already sucked up to the government via taxing. And then it finishes at the top layers. And when these people here need money, what they do, they go to the big banks for loans. So let us understand this. The money at the top is abundant and cheap. And as we go down this pyramid, the money becomes scarcer and more expensive. Now the bankers are preparing themselves to create a worldwide government with the World Bank, with a single currency, so they can enslave us more effectively. So what can we do here? Gerald Celente states that there is already in progress a movement he calls Workers of the World United 2.0 and an intellectual revolution. So what can we do here to be part of this intellectual revolution? First, turn off your television. It's just propaganda. Politics is a distraction. Educate yourself, go to find sites on the internet and learn about this financial empire. Know the enemy. Second, speak up. Tell your friends, relatives, and neighbors about what is going on so they educate themselves. So we are prepared. Because when the financial meltdown will occur, these guys at the top of the pyramid will impose more austerity measures. That means more taxation, less social benefits, so the money will continue to flow from the bottom to the top. Dear friends, I never thought I would be witnessing such a revolution, such a global revolution like this. An old system, corrupted, repressive, belligerent, stupid, is struggling to die. And another one, creator of wealth, of happiness, of freedom, of sovereign money, not that money, is blossoming. But I tell you, we are witnessing this movement. And I tell you, the intellectual revolution is already on. And I declare it here, now, at Toastmasters, Lisbon, 27th July. The intellectual movement is on. And I count on every single one of you to spread it out.